And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Homemaking with Purpose. And I am Denise Jordan, your host. And with me is Leona Dooley of Ebony, Ivy, and Time. And we are getting ourselves ready for spring. And spring just has a way of making everything feel fresh and that everything is possible. I was looking out the window today, looking at how green everything was starting to get. So, it's time for us to start thinking about doing some kind of a seasonal refresh if that
Mhm.
is going to work for you. So, tonight we're going to talk about how to gently reset our routines, prep our homes, and even prep our pantries with these rising prices and start thinking about growing just a little bit of something, even if it's just a pot of herbs on our windowsill or on the porch. And yes, we will touch on the rising cost of groceries and these upcoming tariffs, which took effect tonight at midnight, I believe it
Mhm.
is. But we're not going to do the doom and gloom thing. We just don't have time for that. We have to figure out what solution are we going to apply to the situation.
That's
So we're
right.
going to get into some practical tips that you can take advantage of to stretch your budget. So, Leona, I'm going to give you
Woo!
a boom and say hi. It's good to see you, and I am so glad you're here.
I am so glad to be here tonight. I was so looking forward to this and so looking forward to the fact that we are going fresh and refreshing tonight. Such
Mhm.
an uplifting time, and certainly it's beautiful outside. It is beautiful outside, but guess what? We woke up this morning to 30.
Oh,
We went from 84 on Monday, and 30 was last night's low. So
mhm.
it has just been really crazy. So I am so excited just to have a pretty day, a beautiful
Well,
day.
we're doing better than you guys because we were like in the 40s today. A couple
Ah,
of days ago, we had a frost, and so everything
mhm,
it was like this little covering of frost on everything.
mhm,
So I brought my plants that I had out on the porch into the garage so
mhm,
that they wouldn't get that. But it's
mhm,
still been in the 40s. It's been quite chilly. So
mhm.
when I went out today, I did wear a coat.
Yes, I did too. I did too. But it is very pretty. The trees are starting to get very green,
Mhm.
and I got plants that are popping up. So it's just fun.
Okay. Well, let me just say hello to everyone that's joining us tonight and welcome back to Homemaking with Purpose. If you're new here, I'm Denise Jordan, your host, and with me is my sister from another Mr. Miss Leona from Ebony, Ivy, and Time. And this is, like I said, Homemaking with Purpose. So let us know in the chat, do you feel ready for spring? Do you feel ready for spring? And what is the one thing that you always do to kind of prepare to refresh for spring? And tell us in the chat if you're on live, and if you're on the replay, tell us in the comment section. So, Leona, I'm gonna let you go first while they're typing. What do you always do to get ready for spring? What's the
Well,
first thing you like to do?
the first thing is, I think for me, I go to the place that I see the most. And you know what that is. That's in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And I typically do some type of refresh in the kitchen, get it all cleaned up, smelling good, and start to add little touches here and there to the kitchen. And then from there, go to the entryway so
Mm-hmm.
that as people are coming in, they can see the spring. But because we are on a plan for cleaning, it's I don't do a quote, spring clean, because I don't have to do that. And so it makes it nice. It makes it
Okay. Well, I know for me, I don't start in the kitchen first. I
nice.
always start on the front porch and the entryway.
Mhm.
So when I'm prepping for spring, the first thing I want to do, I guess because I want to get outside,
Mhm.
and those warm days are like intermittent because they're
Mhm.
not back to back for a while. I like to get my entryway refreshed in the house.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll bring out. I have a pot of spring tulips. I might bring those out and set them on the table in the entryway. Maybe bring out a couple rabbits or something like that.
Mhm.
But the biggest thing I like to do is get the front porch swept off and at least get
Mhm.
my pots out of the garage or out of the shed and just put them on
Mhm.
the porch. There's nothing in them,
Mhm.
or there's dead stuff in them from last year. But I just like to put them in place so that I know where I want
Mhm.
them to be.
Mhm.
Excuse me. I'm still recovering from this cold.
Mhm.
So I put them where I like for them to be. And then as I begin to make my plan, and then I start watching gardening videos.
Oh, yes.
I've been
Oh,
watching so
yes.
many gardening videos and container gardening videos and all
Mhm.
this kind of thing. So that's what I like to do first, is kind of just start looking at what's going to happen in the entryway, that kind of thing. So let's see if what our people are saying over here. And guys, I'm just going to say right now, if I'm indelicate and I sniff or snort, please forgive me. I'm going to try not to do that. But
Well, now one question for you though. Are you going to do your pot, your layered pot the way you did it? I love that. And I love that technique. You'll have to tell everybody about that so they can watch it because you
oh,
make your pots so nice. And it's a great way to be able to put a nice container garden together, you know, with pretty flowers or herbs or whatever it is. And I know you have some of those videos already.
okay, I'll do that. I will. I just wrote myself a note and I will get some of those out and maybe use them for shorts or something like that.
Mhm.
But I did make one for the front porch already. It was like I put the two pots together, but this
Mhm.
time I got some daffodils. The daffodils that I had in the grocery haul last week,
Yeah.
I put those in the top pot, and then
So
I put some
beautiful.
violas in the bottom pot around
Mhm.
there, and they just look so pretty, just so fresh.
Aw.
Right now it's
Mhm.
still pretty chilly here,
Mhm.
so the daffodils and the tulips are coming up right now, but
Mhm.
there's not much else that floral wise that you'll see growing.
Mhm.
So, that's what I've got out there. Well, let's just see who's here and what everyone has to say. And we've got 43 people on. If you guys could give us thumbs up, that would be great.
Mhm.
So we've got Tam from Duncan Party of Six. Hello, Tam. It's good to have you here. And then we've got Cynthia, and
And
she's
that
just saying today was warm enough for getting a few windows open and letting the fresh air and bird song in. Oh, you guys
oh.
are lucky. Yes, you're so lucky. And Tamika Brown is saying that she made it to a live. Welcome, Tamika.
Hey.
And December says, hello, first time she's caught us live. So,
Oh.
and then Tam says, I sound so much better.
Mhm.
I guess I must have sounded kind of hoarse in the video I did the other day. Well, a couple days I couldn't even talk, so I am much better. Hey, Kim, good to have you here. And then there's Jerry. She's here as well. So look, y'all folks bragging about your 84-degree weather. We just gonna be mad at y'all because we haven't had any 84 degrees at all. But she said they had 84 on Saturday and 29 this morning. I don't feel sorry for you one. And there's Judy from Ohio. And hey,
Hey,
Stephanie, how
Stephanie.
are you doing? We did notice you weren't on Sunday, and I did see your post. I meant to call you, and then I got busy and forgot. So I'm sorry that I didn't do that, but I'm so glad you're joining us tonight.
Mhm.
And then December likes to get the porches ready for sitting. Yes, I like
Oh,
to have.
yes.
I like for my porch to look like a page from Better Homes and Garden. That's my goal every year.
Absolutely.
So now Tim, for what she likes to do is go through the kids' clothes,
Mm.
carpets and the furniture shampooed, and then she likes to clean. So Nita B says hello to all of us. And then Jerry says she's been ready for spring since the last day of autumn. She started prepping the seeds. Oh, but she transplants on the farm in February
Oh.
and March. Jerry, I want to get some seeds now that I can start to plant in little pots, put them in
Mhm.
the garage, and then get them ready to transplant into the garden. I'm going to go with the green stalk this year. They're the vertical gardening situation. I'm hoping to order it either tomorrow or Friday, but I won't have to do quite so much bending with that. So
Mhm.
that's my goal, is to order that.
Uh-oh. And this is a great time to be able to kick in and to get those flowers ready, and certainly get them ready, put them in your garage, and just pull them out during the day when it's warmer and bring them back in the evening. And if you do container gardening, it makes it really simple to do.
Yeah, so I've already planted up just 2 layers of that, those
Mhm.
little tier gardens that I got,
Mhm.
I showed Saturday.
Mhm.
I've only done 2 layers because so far there's only a few things that I can get to put into the dirt
Mhm.
right now. And I
Mhm.
don't have any seedlings of my own.
Mhm.
But I had them out one day when it was nice, but then, we had to bring them back into the garage.
Yeah.
But yeah, but so Cynthia says she's ready for spring. So she likes to change the throw pillows on the sofa and put out bright kitchen tiles.
Mhm.
Sally, there's a cat on her legs and one on her favorite YouTube channel. It's so laughing. Hey, listen, we won't talk about cats. Miss Leona had a whole big conversation about our cat, but our cat right now is probably downstairs in the garage. But I like to do to change up pillows as well. I have
Mhm.
pillows in the bedroom that I like to switch out, but my husband doesn't like pillows, so sometimes I'll switch out this one pillow, but I do like to switch them out in the living room.
Mhm.
And then Linda says she is not ready for spring. Weather in
Oh.
Wisconsin is in the 30s, rainy and gloomy. Yeah,
Oh.
you guys got the same kind of weather we have.
Mhm.
We did put out spring and Easter decorations on the inside. So yeah, I have that to do. And Hazel is here.
Hey, Hazel.
Oh, so Nita B says she changes her house flag to a spring theme and then
Mhm.
sweeps her front porch, washes down her furniture, and sets out plants. Where are you, Nita, that you can set out plants right now? Like I set out
Mhm.
some flowers, but they were cool weather flowers like
Mhm.
tulips and daffodils.
Yeah, and I can't put anything out like, pillows or furniture because the pollen is about this thick. So
Mhm.
it's no need in doing that until all of that, change calms down.
And Stephanie, we are totally mad at you. We
Oh,
are
Lord,
3 degrees.
92.
92 degrees. Stephanie's in Texas. 92 degrees.
Bring it on. Send it our way.
Send us some warm weather. And then Tanika starts the entryway or fireplace mantle with a decor.
Mm.
And Stephanie, let me ask you while you're on here, someone asked me the other day, where do you find out about all those collaborations that we used to do back in the day? And I told them, I said, that's old school YouTube and people don't do that anymore. But then I thought Stephanie is the one that kept track of the list most recently.
Mhm.
So let us know, are people doing that again? And if they wanted to join a collab, who should they contact? So Jerry says she likes the vertical gardens. She's got 2. Well, I'm getting one, and then we'll see how things go. And Covington, Sally says Greenstalk usually has a great,
Uh-oh.
looks like she got cut
Oh,
off.
it's down. It's down. She's got it 2 down.
Oh, a great Mother's Day sale if you can wait. Yeah, because typically in
Oh.
our area, people don't really start planting much outside until after Mother's Day
Mhm.
because that is usually when we have had our last frost day is
Mhm.
just before Mother's Day. So that's a good
Mhm.
time to do that. I will wait. Thank you for that. And oh, Stephanie says she says there was a typo.
Okay. Okay.
82
But
degrees.
82
We're
is still
still
good.
mad at you.
I'll take it.
Yeah. And then she says, not too many people do collabs anymore. There are a few that pop
Mm.
up every now and again. I didn't think
Okay.
there was. But what
Mhm.
I did tell this person was that you could start your own.
Mhm.
Contact a few creators that you like and ask them to join you. But okay, so
Mhm.
we're going to quit chatting. We're going to go ahead and jump in. Sometimes I just get to chatting, and you guys know I love doing that. So, all right, let's get back on track, Miss Leona. So one of the things that I like to think about as we swing into a different season is to do a seasonal refresh. And that seasonal refresh can be with simple little routines
Mm.
that just kind of help you feel better. Now, one of the things that I always do when I come downstairs in the morning is I throw open the curtains. I like to bring the daylight in. And
Mhm.
so I'm still doing that. But now that the sun's a little brighter, I will also open the front door
Mhm.
and it's got just a glass in it right now. And
Mhm.
so I'll make sure the door is locked, but I will open the inside door so that more daylight comes in.
Mhm.
So I like to do that. But just something little. And then the other thing that I like to do, as I mentioned earlier, is get out my spring decor for the entryway. And then once I get that done, I'll think about what I want in the kitchen. I'm more of a minimalist now in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I will admit, I was inspired by With Love Megan to kind of use my charcuterie boards and my cutting
Mm-hmm.
board just to kind of add just a little bit of a decor. And you know what somebody said?
What they say?
They said, y'all used to do them kitchen vignettes all the time.
Yes, we did. Yes,
Yeah,
we did. And I love those. I do.
yeah.
I
Well,
do.
you still do in your kitchen all the time.
I do. I do. I don't always do it on a tray, but I
Mhm.
still do some type of vignette.
Okay.
And so they're fun.
So one of the things though that I'm kind of working with this season, and this is a new mantra that I've kind of adapted, is I like to do a simple prompt, which I will say one thing to plant, one thing to prep, and one thing to let go of. So I'm going to share that with all of you guys. One thing to plant, excuse me, one thing to plant, one thing to prep, and one thing to let go of. And so let's talk about that right now, Leona. Let's talk about what your one thing could be. But before you jump in there, my one thing to plant so far is I planted some parsley, some kale, and some squash, and those little cheer gardening things.
Mm-hmm.
I planted that. The other thing is that I planted, like when you get green onions and then you cut the bottom
Mm-hmm.
off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've got these green onions in this little measuring cup here. And what I'm going to do is put them in the dirt, and I can get green onions out of that.
Yes,
Now,
I did those last year.
oh, you did. How did it
Yes,
work out for you?
they turned out wonderful. I had pretty little bulbs,
Hmm.
and they um, they tasted great.
Hmm.
And I let them get actually just a little larger than the ones that you have.
Hmm.
And so that when I sliced them into the salads, they were really pretty, very
Okay.
pretty. And they grow fast. So that's a nice thing.
Okay. Yeah. One of the things that one of my friends who does Florida gardens
Hmm.
said that green onions are something that you can go from the pot to harvest in about 10 to 12 days.
That's
They
right.
start coming up pretty quickly. And that is one of the ways that you can save money. Um, when you go to the store and you have to pick up green onions, they can be anywhere from 79 cents for a bunch of maybe five or higher, depending on where you get them. So, yeah, so there's that. And then sometimes it could be prepping on a pantry shelf. So
Hmm.
sometimes for my prep shelf, what I'll do is I'll start getting things organized. I'll see what needs topping off, what am
Hmm.
I short of, or just kind of what gaps do I need to fill in. Or if
Hmm.
I've been in and out there, tearing up stuff, then it needs to like get it reset. And then, of course, I find that by this time of the year, I've got mismatched plastic containers that I need to let.
Hmm.
So where are you with that? Something to
Well,
plant, something to prep, something to let go of.
well, one thing to plant is that I started with these beautiful ferns that were on sale.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they are very, very hardy. I'm sorry, can't think of the name of them, but they're a fern that actually, instead of growing out, they grow up. But
Oh.
they can take the heat, they can take the sun, they can take abuse.
Mm-hmm.
They are very, very hardy. So I typically buy about 2 or 3 of those and I split them into fours, put them into other pots, and then I can put them throughout the yard, front and back of the yard.
I'm gonna just
So,
stop you 1 second right there.
mhm,
I just saw a video about like 15 tips to save money in your garden.
mhm,
That was one of the tips. She said she will buy the largest plant of whatever
mhm,
something it is that she wants, and it was one of them was a fern, and
mhm,
she said she takes it home and she splits it in half, and now
mhm.
she's got two for the price of one. So that's one of your hacks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I do four per pot. And by June, you'll never know that I ever cut it. Never know. And the nice thing about these particular ferns is that you can bring them in the fall, put them in your garage. Now, of course, they're going to shed and look kind of yucky, but you don't have to do anything to them. Bring them back out in the spring, let them start to, get happy, and water them, restart, and they come right back. And so those are nice to have. Now, the one thing to prep would be one of those things that I do refresh the pantry, as well as I change some of the things that I purchase typically during the summer. I Some of the heavier foods I don't buy as much of. And so I typically try to, kind of go through, and those things that I know I'm not going to use until the fall, I can move those out into the extended pantry and just put in those things I'm going to use that are going to be more fresh. And then you had the one thing to let go of. Oh, Lord. So this year, I went through those summer and spring and summer clothes, and started eliminating, especially, and I was determined I was going to try to eliminate those things that I hadn't used in about a year and a half. And so if I hadn't used them, they're going in the bag and they're out of here. So I've got my bag started, and that's what I'm working on.
Oh, that sounds like a great plan. I was trying to think when we were thinking about the plant prep and let go of, I was trying to think of what other examples there could be. And when we look at the plant, it can be literal or it can be metaphorical.
Oh, that's true.
When we're looking at the literal thing to plant, like the pot of basil on the windowsill, or a pot of parsley or something like that, or your green onions that you're trying to do. But one of the other things that you can plant that's metaphorical is you could start a new routine, maybe a new bedtime routine with your children, or a weekly Sunday prep habit, like setting out your clothes or your kids' clothes or something like that, or sitting at the table and planning your meals for the week if you're not doing that already, or an idea in your homemaking journal you've been wanting to try, like Miss Leona's sourdough bread, something like that. And that's one of the things that I want to try this spring, is I want to try to learn to make your sourdough bread. Now, you've got a little sourdough course, right?
I do.
So how do you go about signing up to get into that?
Well, actually, if they go to Etsy, go to my Etsy page, and I'll put it in the link. And there's a whole little booklet about the making of the sourdough, the starter, and going from the starter to the bread. Okay. And it is a true blue scientific experiment. So I do have to say that, be patient with yourself. If the first time the starter seems to be a little funny, give it a little more time. Some homes, each home has something different, and the temperatures are different. And so I had to learn how to be patient. And I think that's just about with any bread making. We got to be patient.
Well, that's one of the things that's one thing I want to plant this spring, is learning how to make sourdough. And one of my sisters is always saying, when are you going to get some more of that sourdough stuff? I used to love those pancakes you used to make. I said, well, I got to get a starter. And, so I'll have to do that. The other thing when we look at prepping, though, too, is like you and I, we like to prep our front porches or entryways for spring. But you can also clean up that winter gear. And I like to add a new doormat. And I almost am forced to add a new doormat, because when I put the spring doormat in the garage, my husband seems to want to use it under the boat to cushion something or to drain something out on. And so I end up having to pitch it and buy a new one anyway. But yeah, I like to do that.
It's nice when they're nice and fresh.
Okay. Well, so those are, I think that was all we were supposed to cover in there. Am I forgetting anything? Let me know.
No, I think you've done very good.
Okay, so you people in the chat, let us know what's going to be your thing to prep.
One thing before you go any further, we didn't talk about those mismatched plastic containers.
Oh
You know,
my goodness.
that is a big thing. And I'm going to have to do that too. I pulled a few, but I still
Mhm.
have a few. And someone we know who shall remain nameless is notorious for putting something into the containers. It ends up stained. So I'm constantly throwing things out. But yeah, that's a biggie.
Well, you know, with me, with those plastic containers, I try not to save those butter containers and all those.
Mhm.
'Cause I just don't have room for them. You know, I have my Rubbermaid Brilliance and those kind of
Mhm.
things. But I do buy some of those Glad containers, those little
Mhm.
disposable ones. So when you have to take stuff away, you can leave it, not have to worry about getting it back, that kind of thing. Or I might freeze stuff in it. And lately, I've been dropping them. So you know, you got this bowl, this little bowl with something in the freezer, and it's frozen. You drop it, now the top is broken
It's
or the
cracked.
container's cracked. Now again, they were disposable, but still. So yeah, I've had to do that too. So yeah, I'm getting rid of some of those things. So people in the chat, let us know what your thing to plant, prep, or to let go of is. We want to know because we're nosy like that.
We
So let's see what we've got over here.
got a lot of things coming.
Let's see. So Tanika starting with the fireplace and the entryway, and then let's see. Hazel, you're not late. You are right on time. We're
Mhm.
glad to have you here with us. And then Tudu is here, and
Mhm.
Natasha is here, and Kim 74 is here. So Tudu says that she loves flowers and vegetables, but the chipmunks eat everything at night.
Oh,
Yeah, you know what? I love to have the little chippies in the yard. I just love to see them go bouncing across the yard, that kind of thing. But I'm afraid I may not have any this year because we have a cat living in our yard,
that's right.
and I don't think Chippy's gonna come back to visit.
And that's a good thing because then you'll be able to keep more plants.
Yes. So Cynthia says she gets critters digging in her bed, and she squirrels
Mhm.
and rabbits. We don't have any squirrels. We used to have squirrels, and we had a couple squirrel feeders out back, but they've just disappeared. We have no squirrels at all in our yard. So I don't even have to worry about them getting into the bird feeders anymore.
You have a cat.
This is true. So Maria is thanking us for sharing our knowledge. You are welcome, Maria. There's
Oh.
a video you want either one of us to make for you, let us know.
Mhm.
So JC's changes the wreath on the door. I love the wreath on the door. Oh, and
Mhm.
we have a kitchen table wreath. So two wreaths, one
Oh.
for spring and summer and one for fall and winter.
Mhm.
And she places a corresponding teapot in the middle.
Oh, that sounds pretty.
I do that in the winter time at Christmas time sometimes. I'll put a
Mhm.
wreath on the table and put like
Mhm.
a little Christmas teapot in the center.
Mhm.
That's a good idea. And then she also decorates with wreath with florals and berries. I like that.
Oh, that's nice.
And then the Beachy farmhouse with her Christmas hat on.
I
She
love it.
seeds inside for tomatoes and sunflowers. I gotta tell you,
Oh.
my next door neighbor always has a huge sunflower garden every year. So I'm gonna have to make sure I have quite a few sunflowers this year.
Oh.
And then Hazel collards and cabbages and spinach in her garden already.
Mm.
Okay, you're in a earlier growing season, but I think
Mhm.
I could probably start to put out collards and cabbages and spinaches here now. I
Mhm.
could probably put out a few of those because those are cool weather plants for this area. I remember someone said they don't pick their collards until the frost hits them.
Right.
I said, well, if
Right.
that's the case, the collards will be dead. You plant them here. You wait till the frost. Because if I plant collards in, let's say in May,
Mhm.
they're gonna be huge by the time
Well, you can cut them along the way, somewhere around July, kind of give them a
right.
little trim and use some, and then they'll come on back up. And
Hmm.
by the fall, they'll be perfect. I do that even with my impatiens.
Oh,
Cut,
really?
I cut them right at the day after the 4th. They get a good haircut,
Hmm.
and they are beautiful by
Yeah,
September.
I just go ahead and trim mine and I'll use them. And then if I'm going to freeze them, of course, by the time you uh, clip them, wash them, and then blanch them and freeze them, by the
Mhm.
time you get them out the freezer, they're perfect. But okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So, okay, let's look at tip number 2 that we wanted to address, and that was,
Our mini, our kitchen garden.
oh, yes.
Ooh, I love it. I love it.
You know, now that's one thing I always encourage my young homemakers to do is plant a kitchen garden. And you'll have to let us know what you advise for your home cooks to do. But I
Mhm.
believe that every homemaker, and I got this quote from, I think the book was What Looks Like Crazy on an Ordinary Day by Pearl Cleage. And she said something to the effect that all women should be able to cook good food
Mhm.
and grow flowers.
Mhm.
Food to nourish the body and flowers to nourish the soul. And I have so embraced that.
Mhm.
I really believe you should be able to plant a little small kitchen garden. And that small kitchen garden could be one pot that has rosemary, parsley, basil, thyme, whatever. Or it could be a couple of little pots. It could
Mhm.
be a container garden with a few tomatoes or
Mhm.
peppers in them. But whatever works for you and the situation you're in. You might have a
Mhm.
patio that you've got lots of space, but like now I've got a pretty good sized yard. But I
Mhm.
got a point in my life where it's getting a little harder to bend over and dig in the dirt. So I'm going to go with the green stalk vertical gardening this year.
Mhm.
I also love container gardens. I love to have a bunch
Yeah.
of pots with spilling over flowers and things like that in the yard.
Mhm.
So I'm going to do that. But if that's not your season or your situation right now, but when you cook, you like to use parsley, thyme, oregano, you can plant those things and save
Mhm.
yourself some money. And again, even something as simple as,
Mhm. And you can do the same thing with celery. If you put the
just
end of the
like that.
celery, that its little roots will take off and then transplant it. Yes, carrots. I think carrots will do the same thing.
I don't know about carrots, but I just remember I just learned that with the celery, and I cut
Mhm.
the bottom off so that I could put it in water.
Mhm.
And my husband said, "Babe, I'll clean up the kitchen for you tonight." And I bet you he pitched it. I bet he pitched it. Well, you know what? I buy celery all the time, so I will remember
Mhm.
that the next time
Mhm.
I cut it off, and I found the perfect size dish to set it in
Mhm.
for it to initially start to root. So yeah, so
Mhm.
we'll definitely do that.
Oh, yeah. It's so nice to have, um, like, something that's fragrant that's
Hmm.
in your kitchen, and sometimes you just want a little pot of it just for that kitchen fragrance,
Yeah.
whereas you still may have a pot outside that you may have all of the rest of your herbs. I tried a kitchen garden and tried to do many of them, di
Hmm.
different varieties, but my backyard just doesn't the kitchen window doesn't give me enough light.
Hmm.
And so typically I can't actually get it started. So I have to start with plants and then
Yes,
I can keep it going, once we get past that cold spell. But
that's what
I love it.
excuse me. Again, people, please forgive me for being so indelicate. But that's what I tend to do too, is I'll buy the plants already put together from Lowe's or Menards or somewhere like that after our frost is over, and then they will take over much, much better. Now,
Mhm,
sage will winter over for me if I put it in the right place. Sometimes it'll winter over in a little
mhm,
corner, and oregano will winter over. If I leave
mhm.
it in a pot, it'll grow back. But so
Ah.
yeah.
Now my daughter does everything from seed, and she has the prettiest plants, and I guess she has her dad's green thumb because she certainly doesn't have my purple one.
Mhm. Listen, now we got the beachy farmhouse. Listen, don't even worry about that. You know what? You haven't changed your picture. It's okay. I haven't changed my picture for a while either. So don't even worry about
Me too.
it. We were just commenting on the fact that we loved it. And I love Christmas. So, hey, don't even think about it. We are glad you are here. So, Linda says that her local library gives away seeds. So, she started
Oh.
cilantro, oregano, basil, and parsley inside.
Mhm.
Grows mint, chive, sage, and lavender, which comes up every year. Her
Ooh.
husband grows lots of flowers.
Mhm.
I like the idea that you can grow those things that come up every year. I plant
Yeah.
lavender every year because it just doesn't winter over for me.
Mhm. I don't
Yeah.
know what I do wrong, but they don't work.
So let me ask our people in the chat, what is something you've grown before or something you would like to try this year? Inquiring minds want to know. And look who joined us.
Got Florence.
Hello, Florence. So good to have you here. What are you growing this year? Inquiring minds want to know. Or are you? That's the question. Are you going to be putting in little things in a pot that you might want to try to come up to use in your cooking or not? Because one of the ways that we're talking about being able to save money at the grocery store is to be able to grow some of the food that we use ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
I do that by growing herbs that I use quite a bit, and then also tomatoes, peppers, cherry tomatoes, collard greens, and eggplants, things like that. I'm going to try squash this year.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the other thing that I plan to do. The things that I don't grow, because my husband has a couple buddies that have huge gardens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to see what I can get from them. And I'm also going to visit more farmers markets.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple people that I've learned that have pear trees, apple trees, and that kind of thing. And I'm going to contact them early enough in the season to say, hey, if you got an abundance of harvest, please don't forget me.
That's right. That's right. And I've already planned a trip, not only for myself, but several other ladies for the fall. So we're going to take a bus ride and go apple picking.
Oh,
So
that's so fun.
yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. And we've got plans. We're going to come back and make apple cobblers.
Oh, and applesauce?
We might do applesauce too, but I know the cobblers are going to be first.
Yes, I love apple cobbler, and I like cinnamon apples too. When I get
Mhm,
an abundance of
mhm.
apples, I will slice them up and I will can cinnamon apples because I like to use
Ah,
them on pancakes, but
mhm,
also as a side dish. You know, like you get
mhm.
those fried apples at, I think it's Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel.
I like
Mhm.
to make those. I found the dupe for that online, and so I can make them.
Oh, I'm going
So
to have to look for that.
yeah. So
This,
okay. So let's
mm.
see what people are saying they're going to try their hands at. So we've got Ella is back. Wasn't Ella with
Hello,
us last
Ella.
week? And Florence says she's not growing anything. You know what? And that's okay. We're talking
Mhm,
about people do what's best for their situation.
mhm.
And so that's okay. And Tammy is here. Tammy must, for some reason or another, she's not at church tonight because she's usually at church on Wednesday night. So thank you. She's growing mainly marigolds. And one of the things that I like to do sometimes is marigolds, plant them in your garden. It helps
Mhm.
get rid of some of the pests. But they're also
Absolutely.
awful hyperallergenic though too. They
Mhm,
give me the sniffles. So Florence has a lot of friends that she gets stuff from. That's the way to go too. Yes.
mhm,
So Hazel wants to grow more herbs. She had basil last year that did pretty good.
mhm,
Great. And you know you can freeze basil. If you freeze it right, it'll stay green and not turn
mhm,
black. So you
mhm.
can freeze it and then have it almost fresh. Tammy plans to look for vegetables at the farmer's market and online at the Facebook marketplace. I never
Oh,
thought
that's
to check out the Facebook marketplace
oh.
for veggies, but you know what?
Hmm.
Probably people that have a truck farm that
Mhm,
would post things on there. Good idea.
mhm.
Good idea.
I'll have to look for that. And we may even be able to find plants.
Ah, yes.
Hmm.
And I think someone mentioned, Linda had mentioned that her library gave away some things. I think
Mhm,
our library or our botanical garden also has a plant sale.
mhm,
So Michelle's going to try green onions, sweet onions,
mm.
potatoes, and some herbs. This will be her first attempt at growing food plants. Let us know how you do.
Yeah.
Data Michelle, join us every Wednesday on either her channel or my channel, and let us know
Mhm.
how things are going. I'd like to know. I
Absolutely.
planted onions one year; they did fine.
Mhm,
Potatoes, my potatoes, I don't know what I did wrong, but they didn't do well. But I planted carrots one year, and they
mhm.
were little short carrots, but they turned out nicely.
Well, I'm looking at Draw with Me daily, and she uses a 5-gallon bucket. She says we still have a two-person garden full timing in the RV, but up earlier she's talking about the fact that they use 5-gallon
Oh,
buckets, And I've been watching somebody on YouTube, and that's what she uses, those 5-gallon buckets like that you can get like at Lowe's or Home Depot. And that's how they do their garden. They have like 5 or 6 of those
Yeah.
5-gallon buckets, and man, they're ready to go.
Well, those
So,
are containers.
absolutely, absolutely, and very reasonable. So
Hmm.
it's a great option.
Okay. Um, I think the other thing that I want us to think about too is right now, well, let's see. Nita's going to do tomatoes, peppers, zucchini, and herbs. And zucchinis are easy to grow.
They
And
are.
if you're working, people will start bringing zucchinis and tomatoes and peppers and things in to work. Like we got too many. So if they bring those things to work, don't be too proud to take some home because you can.
Hmm.
And they also go to You Pick 'em farms. I love those You Pick
Oh,
'em.
I like those.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
Luann's back. You see her
hmm.
up above Linda, Luann. She was with us
Oh,
last week from Hawaii.
hey, Luann. Good to have you here. Yes, nice to have you with us. I'm glad you came back to visit us today. And then Linda says carrots need a sandy soil to grow long. I'm going to try to
Oh,
investigate what I need to do to get carrots to grow because I love to get fresh carrots. So I'm going to try to do that.
mhm.
Yeah. So, okay. Uh, so now let's just back up for a second. Well, we're not backing up, we're moving on. As we look at the vegetables that we've talked about picking up,
Mhm.
let's talk just briefly about the tariffs that are to go into effect tonight at midnight. Some of the tariffs have already gone into place, and right now we're talking about tariffs on produce and things like that. We get a lot of produce from Canada, a lot of produce from Mexico,
Mhm.
and other places that are relatively close that kind of gets shipped in. Well, one of the things that we know, we're going to see a change at the grocery store. And so before we came on tonight, I went to the Kroger app just to kind of see if there was a change any in the
Mhm.
prices. And what I found was that avocados at Kroger's now $1.28 per avocado. Now, and these were not the organic ones. It was just the
Okay.
regular avocados. And
Mhm.
double check it again, but these were the regular ones, and
Uh-huh.
they were $1.25 each for a medium avocado. And then the organic ones may be a little bit higher in price.
Mhm.
But typically avocados are like 89 or 99 cents. So that's
Mhm.
up in price. I looked at the Roma tomatoes, and the Roma tomatoes were 39 cents each.
Yeah, they've gone up.
Yeah, I'm thinking they were like about 25 or 29 cents before. So the Roma tomatoes are up. I looked at spinach, and I was looking more like at the bagged spinach because I use
Mhm.
that in different soups and things. So
Mhm.
a 10-ounce bag at Kroger is $2.29. This is spinach that's already bagged up. It's washed and ready to go, and you can use it in different things. And then I will buy the spring mix that has the spinach and arugula and other things in it.
Mhm.
And typically it's about maybe $4.99, something like that for
Mhm.
like one of those cartons, they're about yay big and about this tall.
Yeah.
$5.99 right now for that. For the 16-ounce size. And you could get a small, like 5-ounce one for $3.49. So those
Mhm.
things we're already starting to see a change in the price on those items. And I looked for tomatoes again,
Mhm.
like petite diced tomatoes, because those are
Mhm.
the things that I buy in the can
Mhm.
time. And the Kroger petite diced tomatoes is $1 a can now for the Kroger
Okay.
tomato.
Okay.
Typically, you can get it for like maybe 89 cents.
Mhm.
But so this up just a little bit.
Mhm.
So we're just beginning to see the price increases on those vegetables. So
Mhm.
now what is your solution? What can you do?
Well, I tell you what I found that I'm looking at, and this is at Kroger's. I bought their red seedless grapes last week,
Mhm.
and they were like $2 and something, like 2.99 and a pound, and they are 4.99 this week. I'm looking at on the app. just to check, because typically grapes are going to really go up and down.
Hmm.
And now the fresh, the green grapes are still at the 249, but the red ones are up. And so I guess we're going to have to, at this point, be selective about what it is that we buy, and try to buy those things that really fit into the budget. You know what your budget is, and try to get the best price for what you can. And you may have to shop at two stores rather than
Yeah.
one, and that's a biggie. And I know, you're thinking, oh, that's just one more thing to do, to have to go to more than one store. But it may certainly save you in the long run.
And when you say to go to two stores, you want to plan your route so that your route or
Mhm.
your route, however you choose to say it, you
Mhm.
want to plan your route so that if you have to go here, maybe it's like a circle. You can
Mhm.
stop here and then stop here, and then you can be on your way home.
Mhm.
But to make that savings, I'm looking here at the price of strawberries. So these organic strawberries are
Mhm.
$5.99 for a quart of those.
Mhm.
And then I don't even see the regular strawberries just yet, but
Mhm.
strawberries typically come in from Florida and California at this time of the year.
Mhm.
A couple of weeks ago, strawberries were about $2.99 because I
Mhm.
got some, but it doesn't look like we might have that right now. So I
Mhm.
think, like you said, we're going to have to take a look at what fits your budget and what are the things you absolutely need. And
Mhm.
you might have to buy a smaller quantity.
Exactly.
So you might have to do that, or you might have to buy the frozen option as well. So
Mhm.
you buy
Mhm.
a pack of frozen strawberries, and they're just as good as the fresh, or sometimes even better because they're frozen at the peak of their freshness. So
Mhm.
you might need to consider that. And then when you see things that are what might be a reasonable price for you, pick up one or two or three, and
Mhm.
then you can freeze it or can it. Do that. Like,
Mhm.
notice one thing we're not talking about right now:
What's
the price of eggs.
oh, oh,
We don't
oh.
even talk about the price of eggs anymore. I mean, the price of eggs has just gotten so crazy that
Mhm.
we've just adjusted and accepted. And if we need eggs, we buy them. If we can't afford them, we just don't. And we go with a substitute.
Mhm.
We were all concerned about, okay, so if we need to swap things out, we can bake with applesauce, or we can bake with the aqua fiber
Mhm.
get out of beans and things like that. Now it's like,
Mhm.
okay, you got to bake, you just bake, or you
Just
don't.
do what you got to do.
You
That's
do what
right.
you do, and there's no point in talking about it.
Mhm.
So, but you do try to find the best price that you can, and be as frugal as you can. And we learned that with eggs, you can add a little bit of milk when you're
Mhm.
scrambling those eggs, and that'll stretch them just a little bit. And
Mhm.
there's just little things that you can do like that.
Absolutely. And too, it may be where we're used to a certain specialty. Like I love Eggland eggs,
Hmm.
but when the price got high, I went down to the store brand.
Yep.
And so, we may have to adjust ourselves for a little while until things level out or get better. Hopefully, we'll see that.
Yeah. And I think the when it says that she lives in Hawaii.
Hmm.
So she says people are turning their front yards into gardens, and they're sharing with neighbors. And that is such a
That's
great
right.
idea. And I think we might begin to see more of a community collaboration in
Hmm.
that way, community gardens and things like that. But again, also be sure to check out farmers markets,
Hmm.
shopping local markets, your little mom and pop shops, those kind of things.
Hmm.
And she says at Walmart, Roma tomatoes are $1.29 each. Now we don't talk
Each.
about a tomato that's this big.
I know. And I
But
usually buy
Hawaii has
them.
to bring in almost all their food, right? They have to import everything.
Hmm. Hmm. So I haven't been in Aldi's this week, but I know I've got to go. But I've been putting it off.
Mhm.
So anyway, I have to check out how much their tomatoes are when I go in.
Yeah, that's crazy though. $1.29 each. But then again, if that's where they are, where
Mhm.
you are, you do what you have to do, and you
Absolutely.
have to figure out ways to stretch it. One of the things that I'm going to be talking about in my upcoming video is like how I save hundreds of dollars on meat. And then I'm going to give a printable that talks about how you can stretch that pound of ground beef. So we have to figure out how we can stretch some of these other things as well. And even herbs are getting pricier in the store. So that's something for us to think about. All right. Well, let's see. What's next? One of the things you might want to do too, and I think Leona, you talked about this when we did your show about putting together your the meal planning workbook, and you talked about tracking the prices in the notebook. That's something I think we might want to do, is put a little tracker in that notebook so that we know when things really are on sale and when they're not.
That's true. That's true. You know, I think as we start to recognize, and it won't be this week, but I know I do have an upcoming video that's coming up that's looking at our pantry staples and comparing the prices along the way, because, you know, we're trying to make sure our pantries are the way we want them to be and that we have a sufficient amount, but eventually we're going to have to shop. And so as we move along through this season, we'll be able to see what the changes are. And I'm really curious to see what they look, you know, I know what they're looking like now, and to see what they're going to look like by fall or even by the 4th of July to see
That's
what
true.
that change is going to be.
And I think one of the things for us to think about too, and Luann, thank you for that great idea. I think one of the things that we have to think about too is that as seasons change, as holidays come, like you're speaking of the 4th of July or our Independence Day, for those of you that are not from the United States, certain things go on sale that time of the year. Hamburger patties, corn on the cob, all kinds of like fresh produce and things like that are on sale, because that's like the peak growing season for many areas. And like now in Indiana, you want the corn to be knee high by the 4th of July. So it's not ready to pick yet, but it's well on its way. But you find lots of those seasonal items that are marked down. And so you should be planning your preservation season now. Meaning, what are you going to can or what are you going to freeze? And I encourage many of you homemakers out there, learn how to do water bath canning. You can start there. It's really easy. And you can can tomatoes and apples and peaches and things like that, so that when they do come in season, even though the prices are higher, the produce you're able to purchase now or in July and preserve are going to be cheaper possibly than produce that you may purchase later if the tariffs are still in place.
That's right.
So you have to assume that they will be, and plan for the worst and be happy and pray, thank you, Jesus, for the best.
Thank you that we can actually afford to get them. You know, that's the thing. So, you know, we have to be joyful because, you know, we are sad that the prices are making the changes that they are, but we're also thankful for the fact that at least we can purchase what we need. It may be in a smaller quantity, but we'll get through it.
Right. And now Luann says herbs are terribly high. So she started an herb garden. So now she's in Hawaii, and Hawaii is one of those states where, you know, they're an island. So pretty much everything has to be shipped in.
Yeah.
And you would think that you could get lots of herbs and things like that growing there, but I don't know what their growing seasons are or what things they grow. But I do know a lot of stuff has to be imported in there. So she's got the right idea to start an herb garden. Now, Luann, let us know if you're doing a vertical herb garden, if you got a container like I do. For the past few years, I've done a large container that I put on a table in the backyard, and it grows beautifully, and I don't have to stoop too low. So let us know how you're working that. Inquiring minds want to know because we're nosy.
Nitty T saying that she started price tracking last weekend.
Let me find
So that's great. She's right under Luann.
Okay.
So that is amazing. That's good.
So if those of you that put together that meal planning workbook that Miss Leona showed us how to do, that's a good place for you to be able to do that in. Yes, to put it in there. And then we have, what says in being a lentil soup,
Mhm.
taking the time to caramelize an onion has really helped improve the flavor without adding a bunch of other ingredients. Oh, that's a good idea.
That's true.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, using fewer ingredients or using less. So, for example, if a recipe calls for a pound of ground beef, you can use a half pound of ground beef. Or
Mhm.
you can stretch that ground beef by adding some beans or something like that. Or if
Mhm.
you need a whole onion, use a half an onion. So, yeah, that's a good way to increase the flavor without having to add so many
Mhm.
ingredients. So, thank you for that suggestion.
Mhm.
And then Luann says, Amen and amen. Thank God. Oh, that you folks are
Oh,
helping. Year round, we can garden 5-gallon containers. She lives in a senior complex. Okay.
okay.
So, yeah, those 5-gallon containers, you can really do quite a bit in those.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So, what says she caramelizes the onions separately and then adds in at the end with a bit of lemon juice.
Oh,
Secret that could really boost the flavor.
okay.
Do you guys have any other suggestions? Or Leona, do you have other suggestions for what people can do to
You
help?
know, I think at this point, we have certainly shared a lot. And I think at this point, it's just following through,
Mm-hmm.
getting it done. And, I've talked to some ladies face to face who have been watching some, our shows. And a couple of them have laughingly said, I've watched, but I haven't gotten started yet. And my question was, and why not? But
Mm-hmm.
the reality of it is that, and I think most of you who are here with us and in the chat, most of you see our passion, understand our passion, and the fact that we are certainly encouraging you. Don't wait until tomorrow. Today is it. Start today.
Start
And
today.
that's right. And that's the mess. When you get up, start today. And it's little baby steps. At
Mm-hmm.
first, you can start with the baby steps, but eventually, we're going to have to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
And so look at what you can do and start there. And I certainly encourage you to do that. Get your pantries in order. Don't put it off. Do it now.
One of the things that I see you do a lot of, especially in the spring and summer, is I can see a definite change in how you cook things, like the
Mhm,
seasonal flow of the things you cook. Whereas
mhm,
I might start using a lot more fresh produce and things like
mhm,
that. You
mhm,
actually will cook different kinds of things in the
mhm.
spring and summer.
Oh, yeah. We do more salads. The salads increase. Um, I tend to go more meatless
Mm-hmm.
during the summer and just add in a little touch of protein for the big guy.
Mm-hmm.
But lately, he's thinking that he's going to try to stay with the meatless plan, and of course. Between you and me, he'll start it off, but eventually he's going to say, I got to have a steak. But certainly, spring and summer is a good time that if it's possible to try to add more meatless meals into your meal plan,
Mm-hmm.
and certainly because of the fact that the vegetables will be more plentiful and they're delicious. And certainly adding a salad as often as you can. And a big salad is something that's very filling.
Mm-hmm.
And really, once you finish, and if you sprinkle in some like black beans and um, um, more like taco seasonings, those kind of things, or dressings, and sprinkle maybe a little bit of cheese in, just enough. Our tongues don't need a lot. They just need just a small sprinkling of those flavors, and you're good with
The other
just.
thing too is I had to relearn, or rethink what a salad is.
Mhm, mhm,
Because when I grew up, I thought a salad was iceberg lettuce
mhm,
chopped up with some tomatoes and a few shreds of carrots, and that was it. But
mhm,
as I've matured, I've learned that salads can be all different kinds of lettuce,
mhm,
like romaine and arugula and all those
Mhm.
kind of those leafy green lettuces that
Mhm.
are not iceberg. But
Mhm.
also a salad can be a collection of um, maybe garbanzo beans or black
Mhm.
beans and
Mhm.
corn and some
Mhm.
diced apples, as well as
Absolutely.
some of those lettuces and things like that. And you
Mhm.
can introduce those things to your family during the spring and summer so they
Mhm.
can begin to explore those different tastes. And I
Mhm.
encourage you to try these with your children.
Mhm.
Let them learn to begin to explore and try these new foods because
Mhm.
you may not have liked vegetables growing up, but you don't want to teach your children your bad habits. You want to encourage them to explore new things. And so consider trying to do some of that.
Yeah, and also let them help make the salad.
Hmm.
That that has been the game changer because I have one granddaughter who was kind of anti-salad, and once she got to the point where she was big enough to get her little plastic knife and start helping to do the chopping, even if it's just cucumbers, she likes the little mini cucumbers,
Hmm.
and so I try to make sure I have those, and she will eat cucumbers and tomatoes. Now, she doesn't want the onions, but she has learned how to eat more vegetables. She
Hmm.
likes corn. So I get corn and we'll sprinkle some corn in there. It's a good way to add, hide a
Hmm.
few things in there. Peas,
Oh, they can
pretty
be so
green
sweet.
peas. Oh, they are
They're so
delicious.
pretty.
Yes. And just find I buy smaller bottles of dressing because I want to be able to find that dressing that they like. And
Hmm.
once you find the one they like, then sprinkle a little of that on their salad and they will eat those salads up.
So JC here says she eats a lot of produce.
Hmm.
And the first thing she looks at is the sale flyer to see what's on sale that week. And this week, fresh broccoli and cauliflowers are $2 each. So
Mm,
she'll be eating a lot that week. Now, $2 a pound or $2 each because the cauliflower for $2 is pretty good.
that is a good price. That
That's
is
a
a
good
good
price.
price.
Yeah, that's a pretty good
Hmm.
price. And then Hazel says, coming from a family of 10
Hmm.
kids, she
Woo.
learned how her mother stretched that dollar. So she goes back in her childhood memories to budget. Yes, my mom stretched the
That's
dollar
right.
too. Trust me, I learned from that.
Hmm.
And Tammy put sunflower seeds on it. And
Oh
yes,
yeah.
I'm trying to grow some sunflowers so I can have those seeds to add to things.
Hmm.
So Sally says on the sourdough, the discard can be dried and saved for future starter batches. What?
Oh,
Okay. Well, there's a lot
okay.
I don't know about sourdough. That's my plan to
Well,
plant
we're learning.
seeds, and
We're
I'm gonna learn.
learning.
Carrot and raisin salad is great with apples.
Mhm.
Yes.
It is.
Let's see.
I love that.
And then Kim says her new way of making salad is whole kernel corn. Yes. Red
Mhm.
onion, egg, green and red bell pepper, and 50-50 lettuce. Use a large
Ooh.
pan. You know, there's a woman called That Salad Lady.
Mhm. On
And
Instagram.
she's on Instagram. She's on
Mhm.
I think
I
YouTube too. I'm not.
I haven't seen her on YouTube.
No, she's on Instagram. She has a website. That's what she's got,
Okay.
a website. And she makes some of the most beautiful salads. She shows you how to
Mhm.
make your own dressings and all of that. I've learned so much from watching her. And some of the kind of salads she makes are like the salads you like to make too, Leona. Now, one thing though, you do like to make macaroni salad.
Oh,
That
she's
was nice.
here. She's on YouTube.
Oh, okay. I was
Okay.
gonna say she's on here with us. I'm like, what?
No, 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 no. She's
Yeah.
on YouTube.
But that was something that I didn't have growing up was macaroni
Mhm.
salad. We didn't eat that when I was growing
Mhm.
up. So it's not something I care for. But my husband loves macaroni salad. Now
Mhm.
he's not gonna get any here. But if we go out somewhere, somebody will bring macaroni salad to the cookout or to the wherever,
Mhm.
and he
Mhm.
enjoys that.
Well, now, Denise, think about this. When you fix macaroni and cheese,
Hmm.
make a little extra of the elbow and just make him a little small container of it.
I guess I could. I just never think to make that. But yeah, I should.
Mhm.
I think for spring, okay, we're talking about planting new things. So you planted that idea. So I'm going to try making him a macaroni salad because he does enjoy that. So I'll do that. But Kim, as I was saying from that salad lady, she makes some of the most amazing salads, different little things like this and more. So if you guys have not checked out that salad lady, you
Mhm.
got to check her out. She makes some great things. And then Hazel plans to check out the sourdough as well. So we both got some new things to learn.
Absolutely.
Let's go to the other segment where we're um, looking at bringing up the entryway or sprucing up the entryway. Or did we cover that already?
Well, we talked a little bit about it, but not much.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I like to do, like I said, I mentioned a new mat for the entryway.
Hmm.
And here's the thing, though, as you mentioned earlier on, I remember now where we are. I don't do spring cleaning per se. Now, we can talk more about spring cleaning the next time we're on my channel.
Hmm.
We can get into that because I know next week you have something else planned.
Hmm.
But I do zone cleaning year round. So zone cleaning is my way of deep cleaning, but there might be a few things that I do that is seasonal.
Hmm.
Like my husband likes to wash the windows in the spring because the
Hmm.
house has been all closed up and all that all year long. So when the weather is nice, so late spring, early summer, he likes to get out there and wash the windows. And our windows do some kind of thing they can fold in and out or whatever. I
Hmm.
don't know how to do it, but he does that. So he likes to do that then. And then in the spring as well, he'll get the lawnmower out. If it needs to get serviced, he'll take it to the dealership and have them give it a tune up or whatever we need to
Hmm.
have happen. And then I start getting the porch ready and hopefully the garden beds ready and things like that to get ready for spring. But you can do little things. They don't have to be big things. So what are some of the other things you ladies like to do? So Tudu said she was doing something in her pantry. Oh, she found 6 cans of chickpeas about to expire.
Hmm.
She found a recipe to make crunchy chickpeas and she puts them on salads and snacked on them for days. Chickpeas are delicious in salads. They
Hmm.
really are. And they can add a nice little punch of flavor, a nice little crunch, and I believe a little protein source.
And protein. They're
Yeah,
a big protein.
yeah.
And Tutu, something to keep in mind too is I put the link in last week's show because I talked about it, the fact that you can go to the FDA because chickpeas will last almost a year beyond your best use date.
Mm-hmm.
So just take a look at that. And what I like to do is take my marker and actually put in whatever that date is so
Mm-hmm.
that I'll know how long I can keep it on my shelf.
Okay. And then Luann is telling somebody to tell it, girl, make it work. So I don't know if that was to us or somebody she's talking to. Ooh, $2 each, not a pound. That is
Oh.
pretty good. Next week when the sale goes off, she'll buy some more so it's fresh for a while. Next week before the sale goes off. Yeah, make your
Mhm.
money last longer. So you've got the right idea. So we need
Mhm.
to take a lesson from JC that when we see something on sale that we use, something that our family will eat because you prep
Mhm.
what you eat and you eat what you prep.
Absolutely.
Pick it up. Don't pick up something because it's on sale. Then your family's not going to eat it. So there's that.
Mhm.
Mac salad. Well, we'll see. We'll see. And then Cynthia, nothing's better than gathering up all the winter coats and putting them way at the back of the storage closet. Yes, that's
Mhm.
something, yeah,
Mhm.
get done too. I like to do that because, in Indiana, we have 4 seasons, which means you
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
outerwear for 4 seasons. So you've got winter coats, spring coats, fall coats, and
Mhm.
summer outerwear, raincoats, and all that kind of stuff in there. So sometimes I'll get those out of the main entryway closet, hall closet, and put them upstairs in another closet and just kind of pack them away
Mhm.
until that season comes around because we have a lot of coats. And my husband has enough coats for 3 men. He has coats that he wears, 15 coats that he wears when he's shoveling snow,
Mhm.
coats that he's wearing when he's doing this or that, because men do a lot of outdoor activities. And so they
Mhm.
get different gear for that.
Mhm.
Plus, some things are nastier than others. So you
Mhm.
gotta have, coats for that. So there's that. All right. Well, let me know in the comments below if you're on the replay. If you're here in the live, let me know in the chat. What are you planting this spring? Even if it's just a sprig of mint or a sprig of parsley, let us know. And are you feeling the pinch at the store right now?
Hmm.
Are you feeling that pinch right now?
Mhm.
And if you are, what are your plans on how to address that? Because, like I said, we don't even talk about the price of eggs anymore. We
Mhm.
just buy eggs when we need them. We buy more of them or we buy less of them. And now you can buy eggs at a half dozen instead of a dozen,
Mhm.
a half dozen.
Mhm.
Yeah, but you can buy a half a loaf of bread, which I did not know.
Where?
In the stores, I think even at Kroger, there's some brand. I was just reading the press release that they're going to start selling half loaves of bread for those families that don't need a whole loaf.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, girls and boys, but it's even better if you make your own.
well, this is true.
Yes. And it's so easy to do.
All right.
So I'll give you all a tip next week. Homemade rolls are on tap. So get ready, get ready, get ready. We're going to be making homemade rolls.
I want to learn to make your homemade rolls. So, okay. I remember Mrs. Harris used to always make homemade rolls for my grandmother. You know, my grandmother was a pastor's wife. And Miss Harris was my grandma's best friend.
Mhm.
And she made rolls all the time. And so she would bake rolls and bring them over to my grandmother. So you would walk in the house and the house would just be redolent of the smell of yeast. And they
Mm,
would just
mm,
taste so good.
mhm,
And her granddaughter works in a pharmacy not too far from me. And
mhm.
I'm going to go over there and ask her, do you have your grandma's roll recipe? Because Miss Harris made
Aw.
the best rolls. I tell you what, I would love to get that recipe. But so let's see. So Ella says, yeah, no, that was Tammy, I think. Ella eats lots of salads at work,
Mhm.
but Tammy says she is feeling the pinch.
Oh, yeah.
Janelle says she needs a deep freezer. Her
Mm.
freezer is too small to save food. Janelle, I've got a video. It's probably a couple years old now,
Mhm.
where I did a video where I got a new air freezer. Those new air freezers are very nice. They're good size and they are reasonably priced. At least they have been.
Mhm.
I've not looked at them since this tariffs went into effect.
Mhm.
So I don't know how that's going to affect things, but I suggest this to you. Get yourself a small deep freezer as soon as
Mhm.
possible. So I'm gonna and I'm sure I don't have that link available anymore for that new air freezer, but let me just see how much those are right now.
I pulled it up. It's 288.
For what size?
This is a 6.7.
Cubic foot?
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's a good size,
Mhm.
especially if it's just a small family of four or
Mhm.
five. Start with something like that. Those are small enough that you can put them in your kitchen, in your
Mhm.
garage, wherever it is you want to store it. But get a small chest freezer
Mhm.
or a small upright, depending upon what you can get. Prices are going to be going up on those things. I would anticipate
Mhm.
relatively soon because
Mhm.
I'm sure all the parts in those things aren't made here in the USA.
That's true. That's
You
true.
want to be proactive.
Yeah, and Amazon is 393 for the new air. So they're up a little bit because they used to be 200 and something as well.
And the thing about getting them from the manufacturer itself, like New Air itself, they don't have that markup that they have to pay to Amazon. So, but you
Mhm.
have to use your best judgment as to what works for you. But I encourage you all to get one of those small chest freezers,
Mhm.
and you know we can go from there. Uh,
Absolutely.
let's see.
Home Depot seems to have the best price.
Luann makes homemade biscuits. Yeah,
Mhm.
I love to make biscuits. Oh, Sue said you can also buy a half dozen eggs. I knew you could get a half dozen
Oh,
eggs.
Publix.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
And then Hazel had an honest conversation with herself and have cut out a lot of unnecessary purchases at the grocery store
Mhm. Me
because
too.
she's feeling the prices. as they seem to change weekly. And
Mhm.
I will admit, I've been saving a little money at the grocery store lately because I haven't been able to go as much. And
Mhm.
right now, when I do go to the store, my husband takes me. So I might, like, if I'm just driving myself, I might run to the store to pick up this or that, the other. But I say, babe, I want to go to the store. I think twice about it because he's gonna be like, we were just at the store yesterday. We've been to the store 3 times this week. What can we possibly need? So I'm trying to do a better job to be a better steward of my resources as well. So yeah.
Mhm.
So and there were things that I kind of wanted to run to the store to pick up, but it
Mhm.
turned out I didn't really need them because I will check in a minute. What can I sub for this? What can I swap out for that? So that is something else we're going to learn. And you know, Leona, you're probably good at that because being a retired science teacher, you
Mhm.
know the science behind what we can sub and what and how, and why.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, oh,
Now
so
Ella's taught. Oh, canned goods. Oh,
wow.
wow.
And then Ella says her side by side freezer is full, her chest freezer is full, and now she has food at work in her walk-in. She's I have food at work in my walk-in freezer. Okay.
Oh, that's
Ain't
funny.
that at you?
Huh?
Oh, Tammy got a new upright a few days ago. Oh, Tammy, that is very timely. Is
Mhm.
just certainly right on time.
Right on time.
So now here's Kim saying she's not feeling the pinch because she's been planning ahead, stocking her freezer, her shelves, and her pantries. Boom! One little bit at a time. So Kim's doing all right. So now let's take a page out of Kim's book and let us start
Mhm.
planning ahead. It's not too late to plan. You can start right now.
Mhm.
Take an inventory of what you have. Think about what you need. Have an honest conversation with yourself and your family about what it is that you need and start doing that. And one of the things you and I have talked about, Leona, is that these homemakers have got to learn to make some things. Instead of
Mhm.
buying those snacks in the store, cookies and cakes and those kind of things, you can make those things at home.
Oh, I'm reading Linda's.
What did I miss?
She's having a very bad week. Oh,
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 oh.
oh no.
Was the chicken and wrapped potatoes one of your recipes?
Yeah.
Okay.
What happened?
I made those
Oh.
biscuits. They were perfectly, so I can't
Mhm.
imagine. Okay.
I know, and the chicken and red potatoes were pretty easy to do. Sometimes it has a little bit to do with spicing, and you may need more spices or less spices. You kind of have to look at that and think about it.
So Nita's lowered their grocery budget because they've got a well-stocked pantry. So another
Mhm.
boom. You can
Yay.
kind of see the benefits having that
Mhm.
well-stocked pantry. And Sierra just made a cross-country move. So they're restocking their
Oh.
fridge and trying to remind themselves to make sure she buys within reason. So
Mhm.
yeah, you're gonna have to slowly restock because you can't just
Mhm.
go out and do all that right now,
That's
not
right.
with the price of things.
Mm-mm.
Ooh. So if Ella's storing stuff at work, they're gonna start charging her for storage. You might have some stuff disappearing if it's at the work
They
freezer.
may be borrowing something out of there.
Mhm, mhm. Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh,
So Leona, what else do we need to add?
well, I think we've certainly touched on quite a bit. And I'm so looking forward to your video about, the meat budget.
Oh,
For me, the meat budget is just trying to take whatever meat I have and make as many meals out of it to stretch it.
mhm.
And, I picked up a couple of things the other day, and I was telling someone, I said that I typically buy family packages of
Mhm.
whatever it is so that I can divide it and use it from there. But, I think it may come to the fact that we're using smaller amounts of meat and increasing our vegetables because the
Yes.
vegetables, either way it goes, they're going to be less expensive than the
Mhm.
meat.
Mhm.
So,
And that's what I was working on this week. I had purchased a certain amount of groceries at Aldi's, and I
Mm-hmm.
decided that this week I'm just buying chicken. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to buy a family pack and
Mm-hmm.
then see how many meals I can get out of this
Mm-hmm.
family pack of chicken.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that each meal that I make is going to serve anywhere from 4 to 6. So that really
Mm-hmm.
gets the price of that meal down.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And then December says she orders instead of going in person.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about doing that this week. There's been so many things that I've wanted to pick up, but I didn't get because, my husband was sitting out in the car waiting and I ran in and ran out. But I
Mm-hmm.
thought I just really need to do a bona fide shop where I can just really get all the things that I need.
Mm-hmm.
So I had him pick up some pecans today and I wanted him to pick up chopped pecans.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back with a carton of pecan halves. And I said, babe, these are pecan halves. He said, I know. And I know you were going to ask, but they didn't have any chopped pecans.
Mm-hmm.
Whole space where it says chopped pecans was empty. And the lady said they didn't have any. So I'm like,
Oh.
I don't know where pecans come from in Indiana. I know a lot of them come from Alabama and
Mm-hmm.
other places.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we grow them in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what could be
I
affecting the pecan market.
Yeah, I usually order mine from Priesters,
Mm-hmm.
and I know they're located in Alabama, as well as there's a location in Georgia
Mm-hmm.
that you can order your pecans or walnuts from,
Mm-hmm.
and they're delicious. And so I usually get those and divide them and
You
put them
just
in
order
the
them online?
freezer.
You just
I
order
ordered
them
them
online?
online.
Okay.
And I set the date that they can come, and then I can freeze them. That way I have them for the rest of the season.
Mhm.
But also think about the fact that if you don't want it necessarily, if you just want to get out of the house, or that's a part of your route as you're going, then do a pickup. So
Oh,
that way
yeah.
you can do your order. So I do that with Kroger. I do it with, or with Walmart, either one, or even Food Lion. I'll order, and sometime Aldi's, and order whatever it is, just to stay out of the store.
Yes. I
Hmm.
need now these young homemakers today, they will do a grocery order or a Instacart order in a minute. My
Hmm.
daughter, her son was sick last week at college.
Hmm.
He had Instacart or DoorDash or somebody deliver him a thermometer so he could take his temperature and let her know what it was. And one morning, when she was here to visit, and I heard the doorbell ring, and she had DoorDashed coffee from Starbucks. I'm like, "Why
No.
is she in the other room?" Well, she couldn't find my regular coffee. I like
Mhm.
mine lead free. She drinks regular, and she thought all I had was decaf. So she ordered Starbucks, and one of my nieces, she just has a Instacart or DoorDash account. They
Yep.
have DoorDash almost every night for dinner.
Oh my Lord.
Well, I guess
Woo.
you just get an account and you get unlimited deliveries and it makes
That's
it
true.
relatively
Mhm.
reasonable.
Mhm.
So, but I'm going to start ordering groceries more because at least I can take the time to get the things that I want. But
Mhm.
since there's been like this flu and everything going around again,
Mhm.
my husband will sit in the car rather than come in.
Mhm.
And I thought, well, I don't want him sitting out in the car all that time. So I'll rush in,
Yeah.
rush out. But because
Mhm.
sometimes I like to just kind of leisurely walk up and down the aisles and see,
Mhm.
am I missing anything?
Mhm.
But as I think Hazel mentioned earlier, I need to rethink that right now.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So Toodle's been worrying about the increases in price a bit. So she's been focused on cleaning out her pantry and freezer, and then we'll restock when the bounty of summer hits. That makes sense.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh.
oh, and I'm glad we were able to help. I'm glad we
Yes.
were able to help.
I'm so sorry.
Hmm.
Mm.
And I wonder how Patricia is doing too.
Yeah.
She's
She
not been
wasn't
on with
on
us.
for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've thought about her a couple of times
Mhm.
too. But Ann, I know this is, I can't say I know. I imagine this
Mhm.
is a very difficult time for you as the anniversary of his death comes around.
Mhm.
Hopefully it will get easier.
Mm.
It's not like you're going to get over it, but you
No.
can certainly get through it.
Get through it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Oh, that's
Judy
not
says
good.
trees were damaged by hurricanes in Alabama and Georgia. so quantities are limited.
Ah, well, Tutu, that explains why when I placed my order
Mhm.
about a month ago, they had a limited supply. And
Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure if it was because of the season, because they said, the next season would come that I could order would be like if I needed them late November, I could make the next order. Hmm.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, I think we've covered all those things. And let me just say, for those of you that are, um, I'm starting to get tired. My mind is getting fuzzy. I'm starting to, this cold is still messing with me, guys. So let me just say this. I am working toward my 100K subscriber milestone. Right now, I'm at 88,300. Miss Leona is working toward her 5K milestone.
Mhm.
So we appreciate all of you being here on our journey. If
Absolutely.
you are not a member of both of our channels, I encourage you to sign up for her and sign up for me because we're two different channels. If you're here tonight for the
Mhm.
first time, we are two different channels, but
Mhm.
we get together every Wednesday night and then we're either on her channel or my channel. So next week, we're going to be over on her channel and I think we're going to be talking about Easter prep.
Oh, yes. We're going to talk about frugal things to do for the holiday.
Okay.
It's going to be a fun one.
So it'll be a fun one. So be sure and join us on her channel next week. We'll be sure to get them posting up and plenty of time for
Mhm.
you guys to join us. And if you're not already a member of our families, please do that.
Mhm.
And we'll see you guys next time.
All
Bye.
right. Bye bye.